Well, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. And this is Barbara serving as your host today, and Brother P is here as your co-host.
Yes, and I am so glad you all are able to join us.
Well, the title today is Janus, the pagan god of January, versus the Creator's New Year. And maybe many of you have heard of Janus. Did you know that January is named after a pagan god? Janus, the pagan god of beginnings. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He is usually depicted as having a double-sided head. The month of January is named for Janus. So Janus is also known as the gatekeeper of the heavens, and Janus's appearance is pretty unique amongst the Roman pantheon. He is probably one of the most recognizable gods in Greco-Roman mythology, because of the two faces facing opposite directions. So what does the two faces mean? Well, these are his dualities come to life, and sometimes these heads can be identical as well as different. And Janus's face can be an old man and a young man, and in this case, he represents the past and the future, as well as youth and adulthood. He's always looking at the east and the west simultaneously, or the north and south at the same time. He's looking beyond what lies ahead, but also deep in melancholy at what has already passed. Here he is. And it's all about the month of January, named after Janus. And you see all the time symbols there, meaning Janus represents time. So Numa Pompilius was Rome's legendary second king, 715 to 673 BC. And in ancient Rome, over 2,000 years ago, originally the Roman calendar had only 10 months, beginning with March and ending with December. January and February didn't even exist. But that changed in 713 BC when the second king of Rome, Numa Pompilius, decided to align the calendar with the lunar year. Numa Pompilius, who reigned after Romulus, the founder of Rome, is often credited with various significant reforms that shaped early Roman culture and religion, and among his most impactful changes was the alignment of the Roman calendar with the lunar year. Before Numa's reform, the Roman calendar was based on a lunar system, but was significantly shorter than the actual solar year, consisting of only 10 months and about 304 days. This discrepancy between the calendar and the solar year led to confusion and misalignment with agricultural seasons, which were crucial for the agrarian society. So Numa Pompilius, recognizing the need for a more accurate system, decided to add 2 months, January and February, to the existing 10-month calendar. January, named after Janus, the two-faced pagan god of beginnings, transitions, and doorways, became the first month of the year. And February, derived from Februum, meaning purification, was placed at the end of the year initially.
February comes from the Latin word februum, meaning purification, named after the Roman festival of Febuella, a month-long ritual of cleansing and atonement held in midwinter to prepare for spring, linking the month to rituals of purification and new beginnings. January and February were the last months added to the early Roman calendar, which originally only had 10 months, considering winter a monthless period. King Numa Pompulus added them around 713 BC, with February as the last month, later moved to its current position.
So January was not the first month, yet it was actually the 11th one. And this reform expanded the calendar to approximately 354 days, aligning it more closely with the lunar cycle. However, it was still not perfectly aligned with the solar year, which led to further adjustments in later years, including the introduction of the leap system under Julius Caesar. Well, so much for your continuous weekly cycle since creation, I will say to those that teach that. The continuous weekly cycle is once more proven false. The original Roman calendar had only 10 months. Then they added 2 extra months. January was not the first month, it was actually the 11th month, and February was placed as the last month of the year. And don't forget that the Julian calendar at the time of Yeshua had an 8-day week. So how does that fit into the continuous weekly cycle since creation? And what about January's length of 31 days? Well, that's another gift from the Romans. Initially, January had only 30 days, but Julius Caesar added 1 extra day during his calendar reform in 46 BC, making January a 31-day month, the month that we know today.
In 153 BC, a significant change occurred in the Roman calendar that would further solidify January's status as the beginning of the year. This change was related to the tenure of Rome's highest elected political officials. In the Roman Republic before 153, the Roman consular year did not start on January 1st. The consuls who were elected annually would typically begin their tenure on March 15th, known as the Ides of March. This date had deep-rooted significance in Roman culture and was aligned with the traditional 10-month Roman calendar established during the monarchy. However, in 153 BC, due to military and administrative needs, particularly in response to the Lusanian War in Hispania, modern-day Spain, and Portugal, a decision was made to start the consular year.
So the decision to start the consular earlier allowed the newly elected consuls to mobilize and organize military campaigns efficiently at the beginning of the campaigning season. And the Roman Senate decreed that the consuls could assume office on January 1st, a date already significant due to the religious observances honoring Janus, the pagan god of beginnings and transitions. And this change meant that the official state calendar now began in January, further emphasizing the month's importance. This shift to January the 1st as the start of the consular year was a pivotal moment in the Roman calendar. It marked a transition from a calendar system based primarily on agricultural cycles and religious observances to one more aligned with its administrative and political needs. Over time, as the Roman Empire expanded and influenced other cultures, the practice of starting the year on January 1st spread, eventually becoming the norm in many parts of the world. Thus, the decision in 153 BC to begin the consular year on January 1st was not only a practical administration reform, but also a key moment in the evolution of the modern Gregorian calendar as we know it today.
The Gregorian calendar was a significant milestone in the history of timekeeping. However, not everyone was quick to adopt this change. Many cultures, including some parts of the Roman Empire itself, continued to regard March as the start of the year for centuries. It wasn't until the introduction of the Roman Gregorian calendar in 1582 by Pope Gregory that January firmly established itself as the first month of the year across the Western world. The establishment of January as the universally recognized first month of the year in the Western world is indeed closely tied to the introduction of the Roman Gregorian calendar in 1582. This calendar reform was a significant milestone in the history of timekeeping.
The Julian calendar, introduced by Julius Caesar in 45 BC, was the predominant calendar system in the Roman world and subsequently in various parts of Europe. The Julian calendar was a substantial improvement over the earlier Roman calendar, as it more accurately aligned the calendar year with the solar year by introducing a leap year system. However, over centuries, even the Julian calendar's minor discrepancies with the actual solar year, which was about 11 minutes per year, added up, leading to a significant misalignment by the 16th century. The misalignment had grown to about 10 days. So to restore the alignment of the calendar with the solar year, Pope Gregory XIII instituted the Gregorian calendar reform in 1582. This reform involved adjusting the leap year system to make the calendar more accurate and involved skipping 10 days to realign the calendar with the solar cycle. One key aspect of the Gregorian calendar was the retention of January 1st as the start of the year. While January 1st has been recognized as the first day of the year in various cultures following Roman traditions, its acceptance was not universal prior to the Gregorian reform. Different cultures and regions often celebrated the new year on different dates, including March 25th and December 25th. With the adoption of the Gregorian calendar, January 1st became more uniformly recognized as the start of the year.
Protestant countries resisted the Gregorian calendar. In 1582, Pope Gregory's calendar reform restored January 1st as the New Year's Day and synchronized the seasons with the months. This is still the calendar in use today. The Gregorian calendar was initially adopted by Catholic countries, but over time, Protestant and Orthodox regions and eventually most of the world adopted the Gregorian calendar. This widespread adoption helped standardize January 1st as the beginning of the year. Protestant countries largely adopted the Gregorian calendar, viewing it as a Catholic plot. With major holdouts like Great Britain and its colonies waited until 1752, while German Protestants switched around 1700, and Orthodox nations held out even longer. This resistance stemmed from anti-Catholic sentiment, with the calendar's link to the Pope making it a symbol of religious division.
Yeah, and on the map here on the right, you'll see some countries didn't even accept the Gregorian calendar till the 1900s. So across the Western world and later globally, the introduction of the Gregorian calendar was crucial in firmly establishing January as the first month of the year, unifying various cultural practices into a single standardized system of timekeeping that is still in use today. January, the first month of the year, owes its position and name to the ancient Roman political strategy and mythology. It began as an addition to an already existing 10th-month calendar dedicated to the pagan god Janus, only to later be promoted to the start of the year for strategic reasons. Its length of 31 days is a result of Julius Caesar's calendar reform. And despite initial resistance, the adoption of the Roman Gregorian calendar cemented January's position at the start of the year, a position it continues to hold in the present day. Well, when does a year begin? Is it in the winter or in the spring? Janus, the pagan god of January, you heard all about how January became the first month, and it was named after a pagan god. And now we're going to speak about the Creator's New Year. When does it begin? When is the biblical New Year? The Roman calendar used today designates January 1 as the beginning of the new year, as opposed to Yah's designation of the spring month of Abib or Nisan on the Hebrew calendar as the beginning of the year. Exodus 12, 1-2.
In Exodus 12, Yahweh instructs Moshe, "This month shall be unto thee, unto you, the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you."
So which is this first month when the Passover was observed? Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yah your Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. And that's what it says in Deuteronomy 16:1. So Abib means green ears of barley. And when the barley grain comes to a harvestable age, then you have Abib. So word origin for Abib is, in the Hebrew, Abib, ear of grain, hence the month when grain was fresh. Well, in Exodus 12, Yah instructs Moses, "This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you," as Brother Pete just read, Exodus 12:2. Well, in context, we know that this was in or near spring. But how was Moses to determine the first month in future years? How was he to know when spring began? Was he to base the new year on vegetation, like barley, or also was he to look to the heavens? Genesis holds the answer. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth." And it came to be so. Genesis 1:14-15. So Philo, a Hellenistic Jewish philosopher who lived before, during, and after Yeshua's earthly ministry, recorded many of the details relating to biblical calendation in the 1st century. In the below quotations, Philo confirms that the Feast of Unleavened Bread is tied to the spring equinox, and that the Feast of Ingathering is tied to the fall equinox.
At the first season, which name he gives to the springtime and its equinox, he ordained that what is called the Feast of Unleavened Bread should be kept for 7 days, all of which he declared should be honored equally in the ritual assigned to them, for he ordered 10 sacrifices to be offered each day, as that day the new moon whole burnt offerings amounting to 70 in all, apart from the sin offerings, he considered, that is, that the 7 days of the feast bore the same relation to the equinox, which falls in the 7th month, as the new moon does to the moon. To 7, he gives the chief feast prolonged for many days, 2 feasts, that is, for the 2 equinox, each lasting 7 days, the first in the spring to celebrate the ripeness of the sown crops, the second in the autumn for the ingathering of all the tree fruits.
So By reckoning the new year by the new moon closest to the spring equinox, we'll place the Passover and the full moon after the equinox. And I'll leave these links below so that you can do further study on your own time. So January 1st, we have the Gregorian calendar versus the biblical calendar. And, you know, Psalms 89:37 says, "It will be established forever like the moon, the faithful witness in the sky." So to find out more about when a year begins, when a month begins, when a week begins, when a day begins, all of those beginnings, I encourage you to go to our website, LunarSabbathDay.com. So I thank you for being here today.